Mr. Chair, we need one more for quorum, so I'm still waiting.
Sounds good. Just let me know and then we'll start.
It looks like we now have quorum.
Thank you very much. So good morning, everyone. Now that quorum is present, the virtual meeting for the MAG Transportation Safety Committee meeting is called to order. A few items of note: all meeting and as you enter the meeting, you will be muted. Phone only attendees, you'll need to press *6 to unmute.
Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Chair, but we do need to do a roll call.
Oh, thank you. I apologize for that.
No problem. Carrie Wilcoxon? Shane Kiso?
I'm here.
Great, thank you, Shane. Thomas Peterson? John Willett?
Present.
Raymond Huang?
I'm here.
Nick Russo?
I'm here.
Chris Salas?
Here.
Aaron Pinkerton? Tony Abbo? Matthew Reeg? Woody Scouten? Rodolfo Lopez?
Here.
Mazin Radovich? Ryan Hudson? Brandon Forey?
Present.
Carl Langford?
Here.
Tara Harmon?
Present.
Mohammed Youssef?
I'm here.
Sam Taylor?
I'm here.
Thank you. Dana Ossiani?
I'm here.
Kathy Hollow?
Good morning, everybody.
Morning, Kathy. Adrian Ruiz?
Here.
Jeff King? Robert Gray? Captain David Cates?
I'm present. Good morning.
Good morning. And Alberto Gutierrez. Before we move on, I just would like to recognize a few new members to the committee. Adolfo Lopez is from the city of Maricopa, and Captain David Cates is from DPS. Welcome to both of you. And just to note, I'm not sure that he's called in yet, but Mazin Radovich is now the representative from Maricopa County and no longer a proxy. So I thought I would mention that as well. Okay, Mr. Chair.
Margaret, sorry, this is Tony Abbo. I joined a few minutes late, so I may have missed my roll call.
I got you, Tony. Your audio is a little muffled. You may want to adjust that a little bit.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Now, officially, the quorum is called to order. So just as a note, as we come through here, as you enter, you're going to be muted. If you're a phone attendee only, you need to press *6 to unmute at the beginning of the meeting, and then subsequently you can be unmuted by the host as well. Please remember to mute yourself when not speaking to help create a positive experience for all attendees. At times there is some background noise. Some things to note about the MAG meeting. MAG operates the committee meetings in full transparency, giving the public access to committee meetings, materials, and discussions. The public cannot view the chat comments So as a result of that, the chat comments are going to be disabled for this committee meeting and all meetings moving forward. If there is any technical assistance during the meeting, there is a help phone line. It is at 602-452-5095. Or you can contact MAG staff and they can assist. We appreciate your understanding and helping to maintain the transparent discussions for the benefit of the public. So our next item of agenda is our approval of the minutes. So our last committee meeting was held via teleconference on March 23rd of 2021. Does any member of the Transportation Safety Committee meeting have comments or revisions to last March's meeting minutes? Hearing none, could I have a motion to recommend approval of the March 23rd, 20 minutes?
Aaron Pena with Gilbert. I recommend.
Aaron, thank you for the recommendation. Do we have a second?
Mohammed Yusuf, second.
Mohammed, thank you. So we have a motion from Aaron and a second from Mohammed. So now we need to do a call for vote. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. If any are abstaining, please state that as well. Margaret, could you take roll call for the vote, please?
Yes. Carrie Wilcoxon. Shane Kiso.
Aye.
Tom Peterson. John Willett.
Aye.
Raymond Hong.
Aye.
Nick Russo.
Aye.
Chris Salas.
Aye.
Aaron Pinkerton.
Aye.
Tony Ebo.
Aye.
Matthew Reeg. Woody Scouten. Rodolfo Lopez.
Aye.
Mazen Muradovic.
Aye.
Ryan Hudson. Brandon Forey.
Aye.
Carl Langford.
Aye.
Tara Harmon.
Aye.
Mohammed Yusuf.
Aye.
Sam Taylor.
Aye.
Dana Ossiani.
Aye.
Kathy Hollow.
Aye.
Adrian Ruiz.
Aye.
Jeff King. Robert Gray. Captain David Cates.
Aye.
Alberto Gutier. That's it.
Thank you all.
Looks like the motion to approve the minutes has passed.
Excellent. Our next item is call to the audience. So members of the public were asked to submit written comments related to this meeting through the MAG website. Comments may be sent at any time leading up to the meeting, but must be received at least 1 hour prior to the posted start time for the meeting. This is the opportunity for the public to comment on items that fall under MAG's jurisdiction that are not on the agenda, or that are on the agenda for discussion and not for action. MAG staff, have we received any public comments? And if so, could you please read them at this time?
Mr. Chair, we have received no comments on this item, this or any other item.
Okay, very good. We will move on to item agenda number 4, which is our program manager's report. This will be provided by Margaret to the Transportation Safety Committee on activities of general interest. Margaret.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Transportation Safety Committee. I have a couple items, and then I'd like to give FHWA an opportunity to speak to their upcoming events. So first, we sent out a Survey Monkey to some of those, to some of the schools and districts, and I'd like to thank those of you who forwarded the Survey Monkey poll onto your contacts. We also did send the list of to 63 district contacts from last year's virtual event. And we found that a virtual training this year is preferred. We received responses from 34 districts. Just kind of a quick rundown of some of those survey results. 72% were aware of the annual training hosted by MAG. 95% of staff have attended in the past. 85% were interested in attending this year, with 82% of those that would more likely attend if it were virtual, as well as the last question, which is 40% would attend if in person. So based on these results, we've decided to go ahead and move forward with a virtual platform again this year. We had a meeting of the Crossing Guard planning team on May 18th, and there were three main things that were discussed. The two virtual sessions. We want to look at a new virtual platform this year. Last year we did it on Zoom. My understanding is that there's some new technologies out there that we may be able to benefit from for this, as well as I believe Zoom has also upgraded some of their capabilities within that. So we are looking into some of those things. We want to create a more interactive experience for the attendees. And then another item that was discussed by that planning team was the resources and needs of this team. We are always seeking more participation from our MAG member agencies. We currently have several, Glendale, Peoria, Scottsdale, Phoenix, Mesa, Surprise. So we would all look to more building that group up a little bit more to provide more resources for the planning team. And what we're going to be looking at is tentatively July 30th of 2021 this year. And what we want to do this year is provide two separate, well, they're going to be the same platform. It's going to be the same content, but having two separate sessions. And this will help a lot of schools and districts have staff that some of them work in the morning and some of them only work in the afternoon. And so we can provide some more coverage for those that work at the different times during the day. Next is an update on the 2021 projects. Just to note that the fiscal year 2020 road safety assessments have been completed. Staff has been working really hard to complete the fiscal year 2021 road safety assessments and anticipate completing prior to the end of this fiscal year. 2 RSAs for 2021 will be deferred to next fall due to location construction conflicts. As we reported in March, fiscal year 2021 Safe Routes to School studies are being deferred to next fall and spring as well, when in-person learning is more widely established. For the phase 2 local agency safety studies, I'm going to talk about this one a little bit more later, so I'm going to skip that for now. You can see that we have completed the first Cmeaz pilots, and we'll start planning for the fall pilots to begin in October. We'll provide more detailed report on Cmeaz later in the meeting. So we're still on track to begin the near miss analysis at 10 light rail stations in the fall of 2021 and another 10 in the spring of 2022. MAG staff met internally last week to discuss a strategy to complete the detailed coordination that's required before the fall projects. The local agency safety study in Cave Creek, the phase 2, all the coordination is done with Cave Creek, and the task order has been revised based on input from their council meeting. The project is getting ready to issue notice to proceed sometime this week. And that's for hawk warrants, as well as preliminary cost estimates and an implementation plan. As for the local agency safety study in Glendale on Olive Avenue from 59th to 67th, this is a road safety assessment with emphasis on pedestrian safety. The assigned consultant is scheduled to do the field review the week of June 14th. And then finally, the phase 1 predictive safety framework We've received a fee proposal from the consultant, and the task order execution is pending DBE coordination and waiver approval. This work is anticipated to be completed in November 2021 and will inform the Phase 2 predictive safety project. So some noted deferrals that are making their way through the MAG approval process at this time. We have some surprise Safe Routes to School support activities at 11 schools that will be deferred from, deferred to fiscal year 2022, along with some Safe Routes to School studies projects that we took action on in March. The ADOT sponsored HSIP funded projects for median modifications to correct negative offset, originally programmed for design in 2019, are now going to be deferred to fiscal year 2021 design and 2023 construction. In addition, Pinal County HSIP funded project to design and install LED stop signs at 13 locations countywide will be deferred from fiscal year 2020 to fiscal year 2021. So a quick update and kind of a timeline, what's coming up for the roadway safety program. We're going to be holding a RSP working group meeting this coming Thursday. That group is going to be looking at suggested programming modifications based on the RSP debriefing we held last fall. The progress reports, there's going to be a template sent out to all of you who, all the recipients to report on the status. That will be due on June 11th. I hope to get that out to you the beginning of next week sometime, so you'll have that. And I want to make it kind of a streamlined process for you. It shouldn't take a lot of time for you to compile that information. Once we receive those reports, I'll begin compiling information for the 2021 RSP annual report. The draft report will be on the July agenda committee for approval ahead of the fiscal year 2023 call for projects in August. And now I'd like to give Jeff King from FHWA, if he's called in, to provide an update on their events.
Am here, however, my screen just came back. I lost my screen for a moment, and we have a UAS. First, thank you, Margaret, and thank you, Mr. Chair and committee, for giving me this time. We have an event coming up on June 2nd and 3rd. I believe Margaret has shared with the committee the flyer, which contains the link if you're interested in registering, and I know many of you already have. It's a UAS workshop. It's part of EDC 5 as well as part of EDC 6. In EDC 6, the next generation TIM has a pillar within it for technology, and use of unmanned aircraft systems is a big part of some of the strategies being used to speed up the clearance of traffic incidents. I thank all of you for the participation you gave in the recent Complete Streets, as well as the Designing for Pedestrian 201 workshops we had last month. The only thing we've got pending right now is the Designing for Bicycle Safety. And we put that was originally scheduled for last year, and we put it on hold in hopes that we can soon go back to an in-person venue so we can get out on the streets and actually participate in a bike ride during that workshop. I would like to invite anybody on the committee or anybody within your agencies, if you have a desire for specific training offered by FHWA to include the Resource Center or anything from NHI, please reach out to me. Let me know what your needs are. And that's to include some of the workshop, a repeat of some of the other workshops. There's many safety stakeholders in Arizona, and I know some of you may have missed some of the workshops that we've had in the past. So I'm here to help facilitate bringing that training in those workshops to Arizona. And lastly, just wanted to put out a reminder, the National Road Safety Awards Program put out call for nominations for safety projects that you think deserve recognition. If you have any of those, you still have time. The nominations close this Friday, May 28th. And I thank all of you that have already put forth nominations for your projects. Thank you, Margaret. That's all I have for now.
Thank you, Jeff. That concludes my report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Margaret and Jeff, for that information. So our item 5 on the agenda is our strategic safety plan, Safe Systems in Action. So this item's on the agenda for information, discussion, and possible action. In 2019, MAG began work with a consultant team to develop a comprehensive update to the 2015 Strategic Transportation Safety Plan. Work on this plan has occurred over a 20-month period to identify a culture of safety and establish vision, goal, strategies, and performance measures for regional multimodal transportation safety. Development of the plan was done in coordination with ongoing work to develop the next regional transportation plan, Momentum. Implementation of the Stsp 2020 to 2030 strategies will provide a framework for identification, prioritizing, and leveraging safety elements for consideration of regional priority projects and help establish safety education as a priority in regional programs. MAG staff will provide an overview of the 2015 Stsp implementation accomplishments and the transition to a more human-centered approach. Outlined key elements of the draft final Stsp 2020-2030. So at this point in time, we turn it over to MAG staff for this presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Transportation Safety Committee. So one of the main charges of this committee is to provide oversight to the development as well as the implementation of the safety plan. So first, let's review some of our accomplishments from implementing the current Stsp strategies. So since 2015, we have developed some enhancements to the Regional Transportation Safety Information Management Systems, known as RTSIMs. We've also been able to provide member agency and ADOT safety practitioners access to RTSIMs and have developed a user's manual to facilitate the use of that. We've also implemented the revised network screening methodology for intersections to identify locations experiencing more severe and fatal crashes in our road safety assessments. Road safety assessments as well have been more focused on all users. We've been collecting bicyclist and crosswalk and pedestrian count data, as well as detailed review of crash reports to get a better understanding of the pedestrian and bicycle crash characteristics. We've also partnered with Valley Metro on 7 light rail station road safety assessments focused on pedestrian and bicyclist users. In 2017, ADOT approved administration of the Safe Routes to School studies funded with TA funds through the MAG work program. We provided a comprehensive scope, and this committee identified the Safe Routes to School studies as a priority 1 project. These studies produce action plans as well as walking and biking route maps at about 27 schools region-wide. And these are used to prioritize and leverage local or federal aid funding. And the next step that we want to look at, a lot of information that we've received from these studies in a resource is to provide a Safe Routes to School resource portal. We've talked about that a little bit in previous meetings. So also in 2017, MAG started working on a regional methodology for screening intersections for left turn crashes that would inform a guidance document to be used by local agencies for identifying locations where various improvements can be made. It also recommended key improvements for various left turn crash characteristics and provided a sketch positive offset standard detail for local agency information and use. The methodology was the subject of a poster session at the 2020 Transportation Research Board annual meeting, and the screening identified 10 locations for implementing median modifications to improve site visibility for opposing left turn vehicles. That application was successfully funded with HSIP funds. Similarly, we commissioned a study to review over 800 crash reports for bicycle crash characteristics and produced a guidance document that have been used by local agencies to develop policies and practices. This guidance document was also the subject of a poster session at the 2020 TRB annual meeting. In 2019, we managed a project that screened the entire region for pedestrian high crash locations. This included overlaying mid-block stop locations to identify locations that could benefit from installation of high visibility pedestrian activated crosswalks or HOCs. The result was a successful HSIP funding request for HOCs at 14 locations. Some additional implementation items include development of emergency vehicle preemption best practices. For years, we've been trying to promote installation of ITS and safety system wide through the region. The challenge is that our prioritization tool for safety projects uses documented crash reduction factors, which does not currently exist for EVP. So we will continue to explore this area. In addition, the Stsp implementation item to partner with ADOT on wrong-way detection on freeways was promoted and partially funded in the MAG Systems Management and Operations Implementation and Funding Plan that was approved in 2018. So as we reflect on these accomplishments in implementing the 2015 Stsp strategies, we recognize that there's a lot more work to do. A key element of the 2015 implementation plan included seeking funding regional safety improvement needs through a mechanism that provides flexibility and agility to local agencies. So in 2019, we initiated the roadway safety program to supplement the nearly $12 million per fiscal year the MAG region has been successful in receiving through the HSIP. And since its inception, we have received $5 million in RSP requests for fiscal year of the available $2 million allocated for road safety program projects. We are currently coordinating with work being done to develop the next RTP to include an extension and increase in funding available for regional safety improvements. We will also explore creative ways to fund other programs and projects, including education and enforcement, safety initiatives with new partnerships. And what we heard from you is the need to provide more resources, particularly in addressing challenges in implementation of various programs, practices, and initiatives, including safe routes to school and various safety infrastructure elements. This will require communicating safety as a shared language and establishing a culture of safety where we share responsibility through our actions, attitudes, and behaviors. So key elements of the plan are listed here on the screen to address the 4 action areas based on primary safety issues we analyzed in the MAG region. For pedestrian, intersection, lane departure, and safety-related data for multimodal regional strategies. The 3 categories of strategies, identify, promote, and communicate, aim to provide a more focused approach that prioritizes people in the transportation, as a collective responsibility of all who develop, prioritize, fund, plan, use, and enforce the transportation system. Planning costs for implementation of strategies in the Stsp are estimated to be $2 million per year. Sources of funding will come from the MAG Work Program budget, the Road Safety Program, the Highway Safety Improvement Program, and the TA non-infrastructure funds. As well, possible portions of CMAQ and TA infrastructure and some GOES funds. This will also require some local funds. An implementation item in the area of identifying locations and areas of opportunity includes developing a toolkit for the use in identifying and leveraging safety elements in any project, regardless of how it's funded. We have a great opportunity at this time to provide a framework for safety in the next regional transportation plan through implementation. So this is an action item on today's agenda to recommend acceptance of the MAG Strategic Transportation Safety Plan 2020 to 2030. Mr. Chair, this concludes my presentation. I turn it over to you for discussion.
Thank you very much, Margaret, for the information there. Does any member of the Transportation Safety Committee have questions regarding the STSP? Hearing none at the moment. I do have a comment to make. I've been involved somewhat, and some of my staff as well, related to the implementation of the new 2020 STSP. And I'm very encouraged by all of the work and items that have really taken place. So I really want to give congratulations to MAG and the consultant for the work and effort that they've put in for it. I'm excited to see where this will lead us, and hopefully it really makes some change. So, does anyone else have comments and or questions that they would like to provide? Hearing none, could I have a motion to recommend acceptance of the MAG Strategic Transportation Safety Plan 2020 to 2030?
I'll make this is Kathy Hollow. I'll make a motion to for acceptance of the MAG Strategic Transportation Safety Plan 2020 to 2030.
Thank you, Kathy. We have a motion. Can I get a second as well?
This is Raymond Huang. I second that.
Thank you, Raymond. So with those motions, we now need to do a call for the motion. Again, those in favor say aye. Those in opposition say nay, and state if you're abstaining, if so. Margaret, could you please take roll call for the vote?
Yes. Carrie Wilcoxon. Shane Kiso.
Aye.
Tom Peterson. John Willett.
Aye.
Raymond Hong.
Aye.
Nick Russo.
Aye.
Chris Salas.
Aye.
Aaron Pinkerton.
Aye.
Tony Abbo.
Aye.
Matthew Reed. Woody Scouten. Rodolfo Lopez.
Aye.
Mazen Maradovich.
Aye.
Ryan Hudson. Brandon Forey.
Aye.
Carl Langford.
Aye.
Tara Harmon.
Aye.
Mohammed Youssef.
Aye.
Sam Taylor.
Aye.
Dana Ossiani.
Aye.
Kathy Hollow.
Aye.
Adrian Ruiz.
Aye.
Jeff King.
I abstain as a non-voting member. Thank you.
Thank you. Robert Gray. Captain David Cates.
Aye.
Alberto Gutierrez. It's like the motion passes with one abstention, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, everyone. So with that, we will move on to item number 6, which is safe systems in action. This item is on the agenda for information and discussion. As mentioned in the previous agenda item, the 2020-2030 Strategic Transportation Safety Plan was developed in coordination with work being done in preparation for the new Regional Transportation Plan, Momentum. Initially, 70 strategies were identified and then grouped in 3 categories to draw a connection between implementation of the STSP strategies that will inform various elements for the development of the next Regional Transportation Plan. Once accepted by the MAG Regional Council, MAG and other member agencies will continue implementing the plan with oversight provided by members of the MAG Transportation Safety Committee. MAG staff will now provide an overview of the implementation for discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Transportation Safety Committee. So in order to facilitate the implementation of the STSP, MAG will be developing a web page that will be more of a portal, and it will provide resources for action on strategies and a means to track progress and report system performance. So this is just my very rudimentary sketch of a mock-up of the portal, just to kind of give you an idea of what we might be looking at here. So we currently have a web page that has regional safety trends. We're hoping to kind of transition that to provide more of a safety performance reporting dashboard. It'll include the crash trends, performance metrics included in each strategy in the implementation plan, as well as progress in establishing the safety culture, reducing the severity and impact of people involved in crashes. Safe system applications for each action area could also be a part that you could just click on and get some good information on implementing some of these strategies in each action area. And again, it would be all in the safe system approach. So for each one of those action areas, making improvements are for safe users, safe vehicles, safe speeds, and post-crash care, which are each elements of a safe systems approach. The resource portal for best practices, guidance documents, and templates for more information and better decision making. This could also house the informational materials that address implementation challenges and the Regional Priority Safety Implementation Toolkit to be detailed on the next slide. So I'd like for the committee, and you don't necessarily need to chime in now, but you can if you'd like, what other resources can we provide? What are your challenges and your needs? So the MAG work program and budget is anticipated to be approved at the May 26th Regional Council meeting, which is tomorrow. The MAG safety program utilized the strategies that were promoted in the STSP to develop the work program proposals for the next 2 years. Along with some of the traditional programs, such as the road safety assessments and the safe routes to school studies, we will continue to pilot new technologies for safety analysis based on the identified need, consistent with the framework for use of emerging technologies provided as a part of the STSP development. So in order to promote and assist with implementation of high-value countermeasures, MAG will also be developing a toolkit to be used by MAG and member agencies for leveraging a suite of safety elements that can be considered for all projects, regardless of how they're funded. Funding for administration of the Cmeaz program in partnership with member agencies and other community partners is also included in the biennial work program. The work to be done to develop infographics and that address safety implementation and other challenges can be done with MAG resources and with input from this committee and other local agency staff. So we'll also continue to partner with ASU and potentially ADOT for developing a safe routes to school resource portal that will help communicate issues and barriers in safe routes to school implementation, as well as things that can be done to address these barriers in walking and biking safety issues. So it's important to note that the implementation of these strategies will provide a framework for identifying, prioritizing, leveraging safety elements within the projects and further emphasize safety, education, and regional priority in the next RTP momentum. So the intent of this item was to really lay out the work that we as MAG staff, as well as the committee members, will be doing as a call to action in working toward the mission, vision, goals, and regional multimodal safety identified in the STSP. Mr. Chair, that concludes my presentation at this time, and I'll turn it over to you for discussion.
Thank you very much, Margaret. We appreciate that. So any questions and or discussions from members of the committee? I do have one question, Margaret. one of the questions I have, I know we've been working on putting in some information for potentially this momentum. Do we know at this point in time how much funding out of momentum will be geared kind of towards that safety element and realm? I haven't heard anything. I'm not sure if you're aware or not.
So yes, I've been tracking the progress of that and also attending some of the policy committee meetings. And right now, you know, a lot of the discussion and a lot of the decisions have to be made by particularly the Transportation Policy Committee, but also the management and the regional council. So the decisions are really made at that level. But I can tell you that some of the scenarios that we have seen have included what I think was phrased as arterial safety projects that were, I believe, in the amount of around $6 million a year. So that would be an increase. So in other words, a portion of those could be funded. I'm sorry, not a portion, but what we may see is the road safety program being funded instead of with HERF, potentially with whatever the next tax initiative is going to be decided on. So in addition to that, you know, one of the reasons why we wanted to, through implementation of this plan, we're going to be, as I highlighted, creating that regional safety implementation toolkit. That toolkit will be used for, or can be used for, any project really. So even if it's not a project that's funded with whatever regional fund or, you know, county funding that we, or sales tax funding, sorry, that moves forward, you know, even if it's just a local funded project, or it's it'll, you know, you can use that to identify safety elements that you can include in any project. So with that, we're kind of hoping to really infuse safety in any project, regardless of how it's funded. But, you know, as I mentioned before, you know, one of the great opportunities that we've had in developing this is that it kind of coincided with the development of the next RTP. And so we've been able to really coordinate very closely with the MAG team that's working on the next RTP to get safety pretty much everywhere in that. It's a big regional priority. I don't know if you've seen some of the literature that's been distributed to the different local agencies, but safety seems to be something that really the region wants to really make improvements on and address.
Thank you very much for that information, Margaret. Any additional questions and or discussion from members of the committee? Hearing none, we will move on to our next agenda item. Item number 7 is Pedestrian and Bicycle Safety Education Program, Cmeaz. This item is on the agenda for information discussion. The Cmeaz program was developed as a strategy included in the Stsp implementation plan category, Communicate Safety, as a shared language pedestrian action area. The Cmeaz provides regional resources for improving pedestrian and bicyclist safety in the region. In 2019, a task force was convened to guide development of the program and its materials, with a key goal of changing the behaviors of drivers, pedestrians, and bicyclists to ensure a safer future for all users. MAG staff will provide an overview of the Cmeaz program, resource toolkit, work completed by the media consultant, and the next steps. So with that, we'll turn it over to MAG staff.
Great. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, Margaret, and the rest of the Transportation Safety Committee. I'm excited to present on our progress for this program. Mr. Chairman presented some of the history. I'll go over a little bit more and our purpose, the implementation, and some of the evaluation components that we've been able to look at so far. Next slide, please. So in 2017, at the request of the director of the Arizona Governor's Office of Highway Safety, or GOES, MAG convened a working group to develop an education and enforcement funding request focused on ped and bike safety to be submitted for a funding proposal. However, upon being notified that GOES would only be taking grant applications from enforcement agencies for enforcement activities, MAG was able to then use the developed application materials as a starting point for creating that task in the upcoming update to the Strategic Transportation Safety Plan. So in 2019, that's when the task force was convened. We worked with the MAG communication team to develop the Cmeaz webpage, the creative branding for the program, and the start of a toolkit. So in February of this year, we brought on the media consultant. They developed an implementation plan for the media push ahead of enforcement activities in 4 pilot cities. Those pilots took place in the last 2 weeks of April. That media consultant also developed a survey in conjunction with the task force members to evaluate the impact of the program. Next slide, please. Here's just a quote from the chair of the MAG Regional Council, showing the local support. As Margaret was saying, pretty much we're seeing all of our local agencies wanting safety to be at the forefront of some of our concerns and our future work in the region. So this just points to the severity of the need. Of course, all crashes are concerning, but pedestrian and cyclist crashes tend to be more severe when they occur. Next slide, please. So broadly, the purpose of the Cmeaz program is to change current behavior of travelers on our roadways, regardless of the mode being used. And then alongside that, we also want to inform people of the roles and responsibilities while traveling, and also increase enforcement of traffic laws and people's awareness of those laws. Next slide. So moving into how it's been implemented, here's some screenshots from the current website. It initially included some background, crash stats, and a toolkit. The toolkit began with 3 posters that our communication team developed, one focused on drivers, one on pedestrians, and one on cyclists. Agencies were able to request the files for editing to add their logo and make some other changes. For instance, Chandler adapted the posters to fit bus kiosks, and now those posters are on the website as well. And any agency can request these materials to adapt it as well. We've also added 2 testimonial videos, a 30-second video ad that was also pushed to regular television spots and like Hulu as well. And then also safety tip sheets for drivers, pedestrians, and cyclists. Next slide. So as mentioned, the communications team at MAG has been instrumental in the early development and current success of the program. So just wanted to highlight some more of their work. This was a billboard ad that they created. So this was located, I think, in 5 different locations throughout the region. And then they also created a bunch of digital ads that I'll actually go through a little bit later. Next slide should be the video ad, I believe. Margaret, if you want to play that.
Last year, more than 2,000 cyclists and pedestrians were injured or killed on our region's roadways, mostly because drivers, cyclists, and pedestrians failed to keep their eyes out for each other. We all share responsibility for road safety. Look to Cmeaz.gov to get tips on how to stay safe when sharing your road with others. So instead of thousands of crashes, we can get it down to a number we can all live with. Be aware, be seen, be safe. Visit Cmeaz.com.
Great, thank you. So we were pretty happy with how that, or very happy with how that video ad turned out, and we had a pretty short turnaround. Our media consultant was able to work with us, our communication team, and the task force to develop that. So now I'll get into some of the evaluation components, the results from the survey and from the media push. So the media results are from the beginning of the program, so early April to today. I'll actually go through and show you the dashboards that we're using to to track those. But first, I'll get into the survey results on the next slide. So surveys are going to be how we primarily track the impact and success of the program. Our media consultant used a sub-consultant that has experience in conducting statistically valid surveys. And they used a platform called Dynata, which is one of the largest in the world. It's used by the likes of CNN, Pew, Nike. Pretty much anyone who wants to do valid market research would consider using Dynata if they had the funds to do so. So using this platform, we're able to get respondents from our selected areas and that match our area demographics. We also had survey links created that MAG and Valley Metro could tweet out, and we were able to sort of separate those and try to get a little bit more pet and bike responses. So in total, we received 586 completed surveys, with about 20 coming from our own links. 586 might seem small for like a statistically valid research survey, but our consultant assured us that actually only 400 were probably needed to be statistically valid, at least using this platform that pretty much vets all of the responses, and we're able to ensure validity, basically. And again, this was the precondition survey. So it was live for 2 weeks before any of the media had gone live. And we're just kind of gauging the behaviors and knowledge of road users before we launched the education program. And so there were about 30 questions, give or take, depending on how many modes were selected by respondents. And we had to keep them pretty high level questions. We couldn't really dig too much into the weeds because we didn't want to make the survey too long. So a little bit of overview of respondents. 83% said that they used a passenger vehicle often, 19% said that they walk often, and 13% said that they rode a bike often. And then crucially, 60% thought that all users share equal responsibility for road safety. 30% thought that drivers hold greater responsibility, and 10% thought that pedestrians and cyclists hold the greater responsibility. Obviously, the end goal is to get 100%. All users think that everyone shares equal responsibility, but this is a pretty good starting point. I think I'm optimistic about this. And then some other key components that we were able to take away from the survey is that a third of drivers reported at least one close call with a bike or a ped in the last 12 months, whereas 2/3 of bikes or of cyclists said that they've had at least one close call with a driver in the past 12 months. So pretty much twice as frequent for the exposure, and that's really telling. And it kind of makes sense, right? We can logic our way through this. Drivers are protected, cyclists and pedestrians are much more vulnerable. They don't have a barrier around them like a driver does, so they probably feel like it's much closer than the drivers. But so that's something that we have to keep in mind when we're developing more of these education materials, is how do we strip that barrier down to help drivers know how serious these close calls can be. And then moving on to some of the performance metrics. Margaret, I can share my screen whenever you're ready.
I'm ready.
Okay. Are you currently seeing the dashboard?
Yes.
Okay. So this is a dashboard. It's called Tap Clicks. It's what our media consultant uses to track the results of the digital ads that they purchased ad space for. This is only tracking the digital ads that people can click on. So we also had radio ads and radio scripts, and those likely aren't generating many clicks because people are just listening to that. There is a digital ad in Spotify or Pandora that some people can click on. Kind of the same for the video ads, but most people, when they're listening or watching, they're not going to click on that ad to go out of that app, but they are still getting the information. But so far to date, we've had almost 2.5 million impressions. So that's basically people reached or devices reached with almost 3,500 clicks. So that's a click-through rate of 0.14%. This is really good. Our consultant told us that we should expect between 0.08% and 0.15%. So we're on the upper end of that, and we're really happy with that for our inaugural launch of this, right? That's really solid. And we can see how each of the different categories of ads are performing as well. So this will allow us to tweak our approach for later seasons of this. So in the fall, if we're like, okay, we want to focus on this method, this helps inform that. We can also track specifically the social media ads that they used for us, or that they posted for us. So Facebook and Instagram, these performed much better, and that's to be expected. When people are on social media, they tend to be more willing to interact with ads that are presented to them. And this is broken down to English and Spanish, and they all do really well. And we can also look at which specific social media ads that were created, how they perform. So again, this helps us fine tune our approach in the future. We can kind of see some of the more visual ones tend to have a little bit higher click-through rate, 0.46% for this one. We had 0.34% for the one with the image of the woman driving. And then I'll also go to our own Google Analytics dashboard that our web and communications team developed for us. So this is just tracking all of the visitors to the Cmeaz webpage to sort of gauge the accuracy of the tap clicks, and then also a little bit more, right? So we can see how many people are just typing in Cmeaz to Google and then clicking on our page. And so since the program launched, or since a little bit before to today, we've had almost 4,000 new visitors. That's really good. I was told that this is really exceptional actually for a mag page, and it shows that the campaign is working. It's bringing a lot of people to the website. The hard part is keeping them on the website and bringing them back after they've viewed it once. But for this first stage, this is kind of in line with what we would like to see. We can also see the gender and the age and what device they viewed the page on. So we see 60% of the visitors are male. And then crucially, we have a really high proportion of visitors that are male and in that 25 to 44 or even 18 to 44 age range, which is one of the key demographics that we are looking to hit with this. And so that's really good to see as well. And then the vast majority of visitors are coming from their mobile, which is actually unique compared to other mag pages. Most people come from their desktop, but because the impact of the social media ad campaign, that's likely being reflected here. So we can also see where people are visiting from. Yeah, okay. So I'll go to the front here. So we can see the vast majority of people are visiting from the Phoenix area. This Coffeyville, Kansas, and the not set are basically defaults for when the location isn't available. They're likely from areas around Arizona. And then Chandler is the next Arizona location. We have a lot of visitors from LA, which is interesting. And then Mesa, Glendale, Tempe, Peoria. So all of the larger areas we're getting viewers from those areas, which is good to see. And then we can see how they arrived at the webpage. So most people are arriving from those digital ads. They're clicking on the ad that appears on their browser or on social media that Davidson Bluso was paying to have go in front of those people. This direct none is people typing in cmeaz.com. So that's pretty cool because that's, to me, that's like pretty high. So that means they're hearing cmeaz.com or just seeing it, and whether or not they click on the ad, they're typing in the direct address later. This Google organic means that they type in Cmeaz in a Google search bar and then click on the website from the result there. and then breaking it into categories. So this other is the Davidson Beluso ads. So that's most of them. And then, yeah, we can see a little bit more breakdown there. And then the last thing I wanted to touch on is the performance of the videos that we have on the webpage. So we have that 30-second video ad that Margaret showed earlier in this presentation. That's 30 seconds, and we have that in English and Spanish. And in English, at least, they're watching through pretty much all of that video every time. We've had 50 views. And then the 2 testimonials with a detective and then a surgeon, a trauma surgeon. Those are longer videos, and you can see almost 3 minutes and then 2 minutes, and viewers are only getting about halfway through those on average. We'd like to see that a bit higher. Some of the important messaging parts come towards the end of those videos where they might use key phrases like "we all share responsibility" or "be aware, be seen, be safe," sort of the catchphrases of this program. So, this tells us we have some work to do to further develop our testimonials, and but this is really promising, I think. So with that, I'll go back to the presentation, and I think we're wrapped up then with Cmeaz, Margaret. I'll stop sharing. There we go. And yeah, if anyone has any questions or comments, thank you for listening. Feel free to reach out to myself or Margaret at any time as well.
Thank you very much, Chris and Margaret. I do have a question, Chris, and exciting to see this, especially I was heavily involved as we were trying to put some stuff together for the GOHS. One question, so I personally don't use a lot of social media, so I haven't seen any of the campaigns. Are there other things outside of kind of social media to advertise this campaign?
Yes, so there were also just regular digital ads, so that could come up on the side of the top, the bottom, or the sides of websites that have ads that use Google basically to host their ads, which a large majority of it's like a very popular service. So there's that, and those were also pretty successful. That's like the 0.14% click-through rate that we have. And then there was also radio, video. So that 30-second ad, that's shown on over the top, which is like your Hulu or Paramount services, as well as pre-recorded or a pre-roll. So like your commercials between the news. Some people were seeing that as well. And then other than that, it's more organic, I guess. So the Chandler bus kiosks, for example, and if other agencies want to put them on bus kiosks that they have, or otherwise print out posters to put other places, that's sort of what we're relying on as well.
Excellent, thank you. Are there additional questions and or comments from members of the safety committee?
Yeah, this is Raymond with Chandler. Just a quick questions, kind of in line with before. It's like each city or jurisdiction have their public information channel. Chris, have you guys worked with the cities that reach out to the PIO, see if we can push it through the official channel? I figured, the more channel that we can get this information out, we'll be better off. Organic obviously is one that I think you guys try to push because it's free. You don't have to pay for the advertisement. Just wondering if have you guys reached out to each jurisdictions and try that?
Yeah, that's a good question, Raymond. And yes, so the task force is comprised of multiple people from different local agencies, and then in the pilot groups, so Glendale, Chandler, Tempe, and Phoenix, we are working with planners, enforcement, and PIOs from enforcement and the local agencies for all of those. And so we have each agency involved with the pilots, at least, as well as MAG, have also tweeted out several information promoting the program as well. But yeah, so we have been working closely with the PIOs from the pilot agencies.
Thank you.
Just to add really quick to Raymond's comment, so the whole idea of this is to continue to expand our partnership in this. So there's no reason why we couldn't approach, the other public information entities within our member agencies and ask if they'd like to push that. I know that MAG follows a lot of Twitter feeds of our member agencies and kind of vice versa. So through that as well is another avenue for some of these things to get out further. But absolutely, Raymond, we are here to collect more partnerships and to expand that into the future. So thank you for your comment.
Yeah, and I'll actually add on the website, there is that form for anyone from local agencies to just submit their name, and we're pretty quick about getting back to people who submit their information and help get them the materials that they need if they'd like to partner more. So yeah. Thank you very much. I appreciate the time.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Margaret, for the presentation and information shared. So, hearing no other questions or discussion, we'll move to our next item on the agenda. So item number 8 is systemic HSIP applications. This item was deferred to a future meeting agenda at this time. So with that, we'll move on to our next item, and that is reports by committee members. I'd like to invite any member of the Transportation Safety Committee to report on ongoing safety-related projects, activities in their jurisdiction. Margaret, do you want to have we done this as kind of a roll call?
We have. Trying to find my roll sheet. I apologize. I can use this other sheet. Okay, it may be in a little different order than I had expressed before. Shane Kiso?
I would say nothing of significance for the committee at this time. Thank you.
Jeff King?
I don't have anything further to add. Thank you.
Carl?
For City of Phoenix, maybe our one thing to add, the last several months we have had multiple RSAs performed in our city, and we really just want to say thank you to MAG and to the consultants and for the work you guys do. Now we need a program to figure out how to implement all the strategies that were suggested.
Thank you. Rodolfo Lopez? And again, welcome to the committee.
Thank you. If anything, with the city of Maricopa, we are starting to implement what do we call it? Actually, no bike lanes on the public streets. We're actually moving with I forgot the term. We're putting the bike lanes next to the sidewalks. Shoot, it's trying to blank to me right now. But we've implemented some new street sections that we're putting the bike lanes just back of sidewalk instead of the bike lanes being on the streets itself. So that's just one safety component that city's moving forward with.
Thank you, Rodolfo. Maza Muradovic?
Yeah, yes, Margaret and Mr. Chair, I would like to just quickly report some updates regarding the McDuff safety program as it relates to the pilot projects which we implemented for the county, the high friction surface treatment related to runoff road serious crashes. So as a reminder to the committee, this was in 2019, McDowell qualified and were eligible to receive HSIP federal funding administered by the state of Arizona. The surface application was designated as pilot project, and as it was one of the few projects related to implementation in the state of Arizona related to the high friction surface treatment. The project was completed, as I said, in January as McDOT TIP project TT0581. So McDOT TSM design branch are continuing their effort for the after study in collaboration with the Arizona Federal Highway Administration Safety Office and also with the Arizona DPS to obtain and compare friction data for the pilot project sites. The intent is to continue the testing for the next couple of years, subject to pavement service life, and to evaluate and compare before and after studies in an attempt to develop crash modification factors at the state level for this type of countermeasures. So we've done the test twice already since the implementation. We did one in March 2020, and then we did another recently another test on April 28th. So the most recent test that was successfully completed on April 28th revealed some really great friction coefficient values in the mid 0.9, which is still pretty good and indicating that calcium oxide aggregate used in the HFST still functioning at a good rate. And also we've been very encouraged by the crash data that we've collected since the implementation, where we really have very minor crashes. So this is really encouraging, and it's something that we would look forward to continue the data collection as long as the data, the surface is in good shape. I have another thing, please, if I may. Apologize for taking a little extra time. It's more of a request maybe to the committee, to MAG, and maybe IRAP. McDOT TSM are interested in receiving or attending any kind of potential training related to the ACIS, Arizona Crash Information System, especially if you have access to it. I would like to make that as presented as a suggestion and leave it on the table for any possible, possibility to have that training. And that's all I have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mazen. I do know that every once in a while, I think it's twice a year, they hold some ACES trainings. And we send that information when we get it. We send it out to members of this committee. So
thank you.
And then I will make mention of it to ADOT again that you mentioned that. So thank you.
Thank you. Great. Appreciate it.
Okay, how about Dana Oziani from Surprise? We may have lost Dana. Tom Peterson. I'm sorry, Dana, go ahead.
Oh, I don't have anything today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dana. Aaron Pinkerton from Gilbert.
Okay, I am unmuted. Went weird. Sorry, I don't have anything.
Okay, thank you, Aaron. Tony Abbo from Glendale. Okay, Captain David Cates. And again, thank you, or welcome to the committee. Any report from DPS?
No report today, and thank you.
Great. Brandon Forey, City of Peoria.
Nothing from Peoria at this time.
Okay. Tara Harmon, any report from Pinal County?
Nothing to report from Pinal County today. Thank you.
Okay. Kathy Hollow, any report from Tempe?
Yeah, currently we're working on updating our crosswalk guidelines to include when to use high visibility crosswalks. And we are going to start with school crossing zones or crossing areas and put the high visibility in those this summer. We also are changing out our speeds near the high schools. Instead of being 35 all day, it's going to be 35 when flashing, which I guess gets better attention. And then one other thing, we just kicked off an RSA this morning at Broadway and Rural, and thank you to Meg for doing that.
Great, thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
Raymond, any report from Chandler?
Yeah, real quick, I just want to extend the gratitude to Meg providing funding to do RSA in one of our intersections. However, due to constructions, that project need to be postponed when fall school come back in the fourth semester. Hopefully at that time we can do the RSA. But thank you for that. And that's all we have.
Great, Raymond. Thank you for your participation. Ryan Hudson, any report from Mesa? Okay, we'll move on to Adrian Ruiz. Any report from Valley Metro?
Yeah, hopefully you can hear me. We had our bus and rail public transportation agency safety plan both approved by the board earlier this year. So we have our required metrics as part of the plan. We continue to monitor those activities. We also have an SMS, Safety Management System Implementation Plan. We have a new safety manager has joined Valley Metro, so he is performing a gap analysis. This is more internal contractor employee safety. For the external portion of what we do, again, I'd like to also echo what everyone else said about the road safety assessments. We have 4 locations in high volume PED interface platform stations adjacent to bus stops that we have a capital project program for some fencing to remove or prevent the illegal PED crossings that result from those high volume stations. So that is in progress. And I know Frank Saltiel has done a lot of work with the committee as my delegate. So he's done some great stuff on the bus side for operator training and safety for bus operations. And that's what we have to report. Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian. I just want to echo both Frank and Omar were active both in the development of the Stsp as well as on the Cmeaz task force. So we appreciate their participation in that as well. Nick Russo, any report from El Mirage?
No update at this time, Margaret. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Chris Salas, Town of Florence.
No updates at this time.
Thank you, Chris. Woody Scouten, I think he wasn't able to attend. How about Sam Taylor? Any report from Scottsdale?
Yeah, I have a couple things. So recently, we've installed 3 new pedestrian hybrid beacons throughout the city. We also have 2 more planned for construction within the next year. And also through our pavement preservation program, we've been reevaluating our lane configurations on many of our segments of our city. And through that, we've installed many new miles of buffered bike lanes and widened bike lanes where we can. We've also noticed it seems that we're getting more speed complaints than we have in the past lately. So our police have stepped up enforcement of street racing and our photo enforcement deployments. We're also currently working on an Old Town bicycle master plan that will hopefully help bicycle transit throughout the Old Town area. That's all I have.
Great, thank you, Sam. John Willett, report from Buckeye.
I have no report at this time. Thank you.
All right. And then Mohammed Youssef, any report from Queen Creek?
Just one report, Margaret. Thank you. We have a position for a traffic engineer, so please spread the word for us. We are the fastest growing town in Maricopa County, 54% growth. So if this can help us, appreciate it.
Okay, Mohammed, good luck with that. I think that's it, Mr. Chair, for committee members' reports.
Thank you very much, everyone, for participating in that. So our next item is any future agenda items. Do any members of the Transportation Safety Committee have topics or issues of interest that you would like to have considered for discussion at a future agenda meeting? If so, please let us know. You can also unmute yourself in the meeting or send an email to either myself or Margaret for that as well. So, hearing none at this time, the next meeting of the Transportation Safety Committee will be held on 10 o'clock on Tuesday, July 27th. It will again be a virtual conference unless otherwise noted at this time. So with that, that brings us to an end of the committee meeting today. So the committee meeting is adjourned at 11:22. Thank you all for attendance today.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.